Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a woman with some flowers in her hair. It's going to be part 3 of our Impressionist Woman series that we've been doing. I really love this series. It's been a lot of fun and it's great for beginners. I've seen a lot of really good results from our other 2 tutorials before this. So we'll be showing you step by step how to do it from start to finish. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's been in chat during our live show tonight, so if you have questions while I'm painting, you can ask those, and I'll try to answer them. Let's get started. Alrighty, so I'm going to be using a 10 by 10 inch canvas tonight. It is the Pro Series Dixie canvas. The 12 ounces is actually one of the thicker canvas sizes that you can get. It's one of the better canvases from Fredrix. 8 ounces is kind of your cheaper canvases, so you can tell it's got a little bit thicker and a little bit more texture because we're going to be going with a thicker, with these paintings we're putting on the paint a little bit thicker, so the little bit more texture kind of helps grab that paint off our brushes. Speaking of, we're going to be using the same brushes that we used in the last 2 series, so the Aspen set. I can't remember the name of this set, but it's the only set that they have in the Aspen series. So this is Princeton brushes, number 8 flat, 6 Filbert, 4 bright, and 2 round. And then I also got a new shipment of brushes, yay, from Princeton. That was really nice because they're only shipping out like once a week right now because of all of the stuff going on. So they were really kind and sent me some new brushes. So I wanted to try some more of the Aspen because I really liked that set. That was the first set that I'd gotten to try them out. And so I got a bunch more different sizes. So I've got a 6 angle bright, a number 2 round for some of the smaller details in case we need it. I don't know if we will, but and then I've got a short Filbert, number 4. So it's a little bit shorter than the other one. And then the number 2 bright. So just a little tiny flat. Bright and flat just means this is the difference. You can see the flat are just longer than bright. So the bright are a little bit shorter, kind of better for smaller details areas. All right, so those are going to be our brushes tonight. Thank you to Princeton and Fredrix. They're our canvas and brush sponsor. They're awesome, and we love working with them. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go over our colors. I've got carbon black, and that's just to show you how to mix one of the new colors that I'm going to be using tonight. So that's the only time we're going to be using it is carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium red medium, Quinacridone Magenta. This is the new color that I was mentioning, ash pink. It's a Matisse color, so I'm going to be using that tonight for some of the roses, and I'll show you how to mix it in case you don't have it, which probably most of you don't. So I just like the color. It's really pretty. It's a brand new color that I just got, so I thought I'd try it tonight. Ultramarine Blue, Phthalo Blue green shade, Cobalt Teal, Phthalo green yellow shade, Unbleached Titanium, Titanium White, and then this is our golden glazing medium that we use most every show. I'm going to spray my paints down just one more time really quick. And the first thing we're going to want to do is just to sketch out our design on the canvas using a 10 by 10 inch. Like I said, you can use really any size you want to, though. If you want to upscale it, I think it'd be really cool on a really big canvas. If you use a bigger canvas, use a bigger brush. That's really the only difference that you have to, and more paint, obviously. But you can do all the same techniques with a bigger canvas. All right, so I'm just going to get a little bit of burnt sienna and some of the glazing medium and some water. I'm just going to use that, maybe a little bit of yellow oxide to create a soft brown to sketch with. And the glazing medium just helps it stick because when you add too much water to heavy body acrylics, they can kind of just be kind of a wash. It won't stick to your canvas very well. So you're kind of underbinding, it's called. You're replacing all of that binder that's in the paint with water, and it won't stick water. It'll just wash right off if we add layers to it. So the glazing medium is just adding a little bit more of that binder into it. That's basically all it is. All right, so our main shape here, if you look at the reference photo, is kind of like a triangle or a diamond shape. the way her hair is coming out at the sides. So the top of her head, we're going to kind of just do sort of a small oval, and think about her head being like right in here. So you're going to kind of, you can start that way if you want to, just kind of get that shape in. And here's the neck down here, coming off both sides. Our neighbor waited to do his truck until we started show, obviously.
Sorry.
Our neighbor decided to wait until we started the show.
Exactly.
Okay, and then like right about here, the hair starts to kind of come out a little bit. So about, I would say about a third of the way down the canvas there, if you kind of split it. So this part is a little bit narrower at the top, and then it starts to kind of widen out, and it comes out almost, really close to the edges on both sides. So don't be afraid of bringing that hair out quite a bit. And then right about the midpoint, it's going to start tapering back in. So this side's going to have some small roses tucked in here. I'm just going to do little circles for those. There's a big one right here, kind of smushed up right there. Lots of leaves. And I'm not too worried about the leaves right now. We'll be adding those in on top of, the main thing. So this kind of comes down, this side kind of comes down straight into the flowers. It kind of pushes that hair down right here with the flowers set. And then the crown comes up and around, like right in there somewhere. And then we're just seeing some leaves coming up and around the side of the head here. But like I said, we'll put those in later because we're going to put that background color on, and we will be covering all that up. So I don't want to go into too much detail with that yet. The middle part, right about here where that crown comes up, and it really cuts off almost the halfway mark on the head. So kind of start it right there and just angle it up and bring it outside the boundaries of the head right here a little bit. And there's some bangs and things that come around here. There's a little part right here. So the hair comes down and parts and comes out the sides. And then this part comes straight down towards us. So you can kind of give yourself some of those lines to work with. I'm really just kind of sketching out the main lines that I'm seeing. Okay. And if you hold the brush a little bit farther back, it kind of helps you keeps you from getting too fussy with it. We want to keep it kind of loose. So holding a little bit farther back on the brush, longer handled brush will help with that. It will give it a little bit more natural, loose style. And if you're really having trouble, holding your wrist up, you can always prop up your wrist with your other hand, hold it up just to give yourself some support. If that's causing issues for you. But okay, so there's that. And there's one more rose tucked in right there. And then it starts kind of curling, doing these little curls at the bottom here. How you doing, hun?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Jumped right in, didn't we?
Yeah, you did.
Need to say hi to everybody.
Okay.
I'm glad you're with us tonight.
Yes.
Hope you're all staying safe, wearing your masks. I'm going to go mom on you and lecture you about that if I see you without masks. So just saying.
I'm not wearing mine right now.
I know. Well, that's okay.
Okay. You don't have cooties?
I don't have cooties.
Oh, I think you do. Just because you're a girl.
That's what somebody with cooties would say, right?
Exactly. All girls have cooties.
I see. Okay, well.
We're taught that as boys.
Too late now. You've caught mine.
Oh, no.
Long time ago. Okay, there we go. So just these little kind of circular sections here are going to be our little rolls in her hair. So I'm not doing too much detail right now with that. I just kind of want to go in and sort of map out where the main curls are happening. But I think that's pretty good. All right, so let's start with our background. So I'm going to get my largest brush. This is a number 8 flat here. It's just a large flat. It's about, I don't know, 3/4 maybe inch, something like that. And I want to show the first 2 in our series here, if I can fit them on screen side by side. So there was the first one there, and then this was the second one that we did. So here's our third one. They're all, I was telling Mark, I'm having a really hard time finding any ethnicities in this particular format with the photographs with the hair with flowers. So I don't know. I'm looking, I promise you. So I was looking for one for Cinco de Mayo that was a Latin woman, and I could not find one in this particular pose. It was just like it does not exist, at least on the photo sites that I'm looking at. So anyhow, like I said, I'm trying. Got a lot of white women going on here so far, but anyhow, I think it'll be fun. Next, the next one I've already bought, possibly, unless I can find a better one, is going to be a redhead. So that'll be the next. I'm really hoping to do one of these a month. I've been really enjoying it, and you guys have been painting along really well. So I've gotten a lot of good feedback on them. So if you guys are continuing to like them, give me a thumbs up and put a comment down below. We'd like to know. We always like to hear back from you. Keep it nice, though. All right. Just saying, keep it nice. I'm just going to grab all of this up because we've got all this left over and I don't want to waste it. We're not going to use it for anything else. So I'm going to grab that. It was yellow and burnt sienna. Yeah, yellow oxide and burnt sienna. They're pretty much equal parts, just about. And I'm going to mix it with my cobalt teal. That'll give me kind of an earthy green. And then I want to add a little bit of blue, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of my phthalo blue. There we go. And we can get it fairly dark, and then we'll add white to it to lighten it up. So it doesn't have to be exact. That looks about right, I think. Somewhere in there. Oh yeah, that's going to be pretty. It's kind of in between the other 2 colors. We're using that teal color kind of for the background, so I want them to kind of sort of go together. Kind of, sort of. Kind of, sort of. And getting some water, and just gonna, there we go. I'm gonna dab this on pretty thick. And just gonna go over what I've got here. If you want, you can add a little bit of the glazing medium. It'll help it kind of smooth it on there a little bit easier. Don't add too much because it'll thin out your paint. You don't want it to be see-through necessarily. It's kind of a fine line. But yeah, like that. And I want some kind of motion and things going on in here. So I'm just going to kind of come back through here and add some dark. Oh, shoot, I did not mean to do that. I got her shoulder there. Her shoulder's green now. Great. It's ruined.
Is she a lizard?
I'm going to give up. No, I'm joking. That's it. We'll fix it.
We'll push through the mistakes.
Yes, we'll fix it. No big deal. So we're just kind of going over here, following the drawing outline here. And mainly I just want to make sure that I've got paint all pushed down now into the canvas really well. So anywhere where I think that we're going to be putting a line maybe over the top and especially up in here, I'm just going to go right over all of this area and maybe leave a little bit of that line showing just so I can see where to put it later. But for the most part, I'm just going to cover all of this up really well and try not to hit the brush on my microphone. You won't have that issue, I'm sure. pretty. Just a little, it's like a shade darker than the one that we did previously. So I like it. You can use whatever color you want to in your background. If you don't want them to be blue, you could do pink would be pretty, or kind of a neutral, whatever. But whatever you use for your background, I would use it also in your girl. So if you use like a purple or something like that, then maybe change some of the flowers or add a little bit of purple to the flowers or to the undertone in the hair, shadows and things like that. So I always like, if I'm using a new color for the background that I don't have anywhere else, I always put it in to the painting so that it's unified. It makes it look better than just having like a separate color. Some sort of color that's out of the ordinary can be kind of jarring to your senses. It's like, whoa, what's that? Where'd that come from? Okay. Keep it on going here. No questions? Everybody's pretty quiet today so far.
One question they had asked if you had got a new water bucket.
Oh, I did.
I was able to answer that on my own.
I did.
All by myself. I'm a big boy.
Good job.
Thanks.
Yes, and it's in my Amazon store already. So I just decided to upgrade to an actual, like, one made for painting. I don't know. It's been how many years? 30 years painting, and I had a plastic one a while back, but I kind of, it wasn't big enough for what I wanted, so then I started using the big plastic jugs and Cool Whip tubs and pickle jars, and I've had all kinds of things.
So you switch from styrofoam plates to glass pallets.
I know.
And from leftover grapefruit containers
we're getting fancier. You know?
We are high tech.
Moving up in the world. Use whatever you've got. Does not make a difference. That's just, it just holds a lot. I like it. Holds a lot. The main reason I got it is because it's got this little dealie that holds the so that you can clean your brush out on that part, and it does have a little area too that flips up, that if I can get to it, there we go, so that you can rest your brushes into the water too and hold them up out of the water, just so that this part is in and it's not in the wooden part down in the water. So that is kind of nice too, but I don't leave my brushes in my water at all anymore.
Oh, sure.
I don't.
Right. Hey, somebody popped in a little bit after we started, and they asked, they're an acrylic beginner painter, and they want to know, is it okay to use just water to blend, or do you need something special?
You can use just water to blend as long as you're not adding too much of it. You just got to think about, water will wash. You use water to wash things off, so it'll wash off your paint too. If you use it too much, like right now, if I was to go and want to add more paint over here, say, want to add another coat of paint down here, I would just need to make sure that my paint was not too watered down, because if it was too watery, it would wash off the paint. So just try to go with the same thickness of paint while you're working in your areas. So here I'm using a fairly thick paint for the background, and so when I add new layers, I can go over the top of an area as long as it's still wet, as long as I'm using kind of the same thickness of paint. So, but you do want to add a little bit of water, especially to heavy body acrylics, because they are so thick. You're going to need a little bit of water to help them flow, but not too much. You just want to kind of keep, and the mediums will. If you're doing a lot of painting with the heavy body acrylics, the mediums will, like a glazing medium, will help. Some people use matte medium, just a fluid medium that's a little bit thinner than your paint. then these thick paints will help the paint kind of flow around onto the canvas and blend a little bit. But I used water, just plain water, for years, and it did just fine. So I only recently started using glazing mediums and things. If you're using cheaper acrylics, like craft acrylics or student level paints, they're not going to have as much pigment in them, which is bad and good. It's good for your water, because you can add more water to them than you do with heavy body acrylics. Heavy body acrylics are more pigment, less binder, and cheaper paints are more binder, less pigment. So more binder means you can add more water. So cheaper paints, you can add more water to them, and more expensive paints you can't, because they're so highly pigmented, there's not as much binder. So you have to add some sort of medium if you want to thin them out quite a lot. So hopefully, because I used craft acrylics for years, and craft acrylics, those thin, ones in the bottle that come for, like $1.50 a bottle, those, you can add almost as much water as you want, and they're just fine. They do just fine. Because they're mostly binder. They're not very pigmented. But your colors are not going to be as vibrant too. So that's the trade-off, All right. So there's our background. You can see I kind of added lots of brush strokes and let it, kind of be all kind of fun and impressionistic like. And we'll just let that dry. I went ahead and did the sides while I was at it so that they are painted. Get most of the paint out of my brush here. And I'm just going to lay it flat on the side, and then after the show I clean it, just making sure that paint doesn't dry out in there, so I keep it moist every now and then. I'll go back in and dip it back in the water, but I always clean them really well afterwards. You don't want to, you're spending a lot on your brushes. I always say buy the best brush you can afford, and then take really, really good care of it and clean it really well after every use, and it'll last you years. Okay, let me go back to this. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to switch to the Filbert. This is number 6 Filbert. We'll start putting in some of the details in the hair. I'm going to put the dark areas in first. So get the burnt umber and add just a little bit of the blue. Ultramarine blue. That'll just darken it up a little bit. And so I did my curls, and when I did my curls, I kind of was doing the highlighted part of the curls when I drew it in. So now I'm going to go just underneath those parts and add my shadows in, and just look at your picture and kind of see where the dark areas are. And I'm just going to kind of tap in some of that. So you got to have these dark areas in here, even with blonde hair, because if you don't, there's just not going to be anything. It's going to look really flat. It's not going to be anything for it to play up against and come out. You got to have it kind of coming out of that darkness to give it some depth. Even blonde hair.
How did that go?
And I think depth.
That's how it comes out of the darkness?
Depth, yes.
Okay.
Like that. And you kind of have to do like that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a life metaphor in there somewhere, too. I think we're in dark times right now. I know I am. Got some scary stuff happening. It's good to be painting today.
Yeah.
It's good to get my mind off things for a little while.
And then after this...
Ooh, Oak Island?
Oak Island,
They're
baby.
finding treasure tonight?
They're finding everything now.
Okay. I think I'm just going to very lightly wash, glaze, add some glazing medium, some water here, and just kind of lightly wash some of this brown under where I'm going to put some of my lighter colors. So I put the dark color on there, and I'm just going to kind of try to get it so that all these little white, you see these little white dots on there? I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but You want to get those gone, and the best way to do that I've found is just to thin out your paint a little bit, and that thinned paint gets down in those little cracks and holes really well. So this way, when we put on our lighter colors on top, and I don't want this color to be too dark because I don't want to have to fight against it, so I'm thinning it out a little bit. I put in my darkest areas, and now I've got it thinned out. This is the burnt umber, same thing. And I'm just using it thinned out to wash over all of this area here. Get down in all these little cracks and just make sure that all of the canvas is covered so that when I start my hair, got a little bit of color underneath there to play against. A little bit of a darker color. And I'm still going in the same direction that I drew, so you can see I'm kind of going around the sides this way, on the sides, and then in the middle here, right about where that part is, I'm kind of starting to go down, straight down through here. And if it's too dark and you can't see your drawing anymore, I just add a little bit more glazing medium or water to your paint so that you're seeing through. And you can also do this with, like if you're concerned and you don't have a glazing medium, you could also do this with like a lighter color paint. So you could add a little bit of a white or something to your brown to do this, just so that you could see where your lines are. Or if you don't have glazing medium, you're going to need to use a, you don't want to add too much water. So if you're concerned about that, then just use a white or something in your brown here to make it this color. It'll cover a little bit more. It'll be more opaque. So just kind of have to keep that in mind. It will not be as transparent if you do that. That's the reason why I'm doing it this way, because the transparency makes it easier to see my lines underneath. Plus it gets down into those little cracks. Like I said, the thinned out paint gets down and penetrates down in all these little crevices in the canvas. Okay, so there we go. Got that. So let's work on her skin tone. We don't want to get too much farther in our hair till we get her skin on there. So I'm going to start with yellow oxide and add some cadmium red medium. Kind of almost equal parts. And then ultramarine blue will neutralize it and make it look more natural. And it's really not an exact science creating skin tone color. You just kind of have to play with it a little bit. And if you use those three colors, you can get this and look at it and say, okay, that looks a little bit maybe too much orange, so then I need to add a little bit of red to it. So I'm going to add a little bit of red to kind of make it more pink. And then if it starts looking really, really, really pink, then you might need to add a little bit of the blue to tone it down. So it's just kind of, I think that looks good. She got a little bit of a tan. I actually think, I see a little bit more rosy tone to her, so I'm going to add a little bit more red than I might normally add. She's got a little bit of a pink tone to her skin. Okay, adding some white here. She's actually pretty fair. Yeah, that looks good. Were you worried?
I was on the edge of my seat. Actually, no, I'm not, because the cat's not in my seat.
Because the cat's not in here. You were on the edge of your seat earlier, literally. Cashmere was trying to... Cashmere, as soon as I came in to sit down, she was like up in Mark's seat. She was like, okay, it's time to go to work. I'm here.
I posted a picture in the Facebook group of her sleeping with her paws over her face.
Yeah, because she was like, there's a lot of lights in here.
Yeah. What a diva.
It's a little bit bright. Yeah, exactly. Could you keep it down? I'm trying to nap. Okay, I don't like this curve is not quite right here, so I'm going to have to bring in the neck a little bit on the sides, I think, with my blue. She looks a little thick in the neck there. Can get some of the darker color and just tap it in while this is wet. Come up underneath the hair and just put a little shadow underneath her neck there. Get a little bit of the burnt umber that will help it get even darker. And just right in there. And like this kind of paint, you don't really mind. It's fine if you see a little bit of those brush strokes. Just kind of try to, make them sort of go in the direction of the flow. Go with the flow of the rest of the painting. So something like that. I might even go a little bit darker. Come on. There we go. There we go. Good. So she looks like she's got a little bit of a shadow on her neck there. You want to bring it in just a little bit right there. Okay. Good. All right, and then on this side, there's a little bit more of a highlight, so I'm going to get some of my white and just add it to this color over here. And just go along here while it's still kind of wet, and go along that edge and just add a little bit of white. Try not to get into that blue that I just did, but I just touched it. That's all right. A little bit of white.
We got a question.
Mm-hmm.
They would like to know if they would use glazing medium if they were painting on a multimedia paper and not a canvas.
You can, yes, you can. You don't need to though. Paper generally will soak in the pigment just fine, and you don't need to worry about it underbinding like you would canvas. So I would test it and just see, just add a bunch of water to a paint, on a practice piece or, on a practice sheet, that just try it and see. Put down some thinned out paint and then try, let it dry completely, and then just kind of try to wash it off with a little bit of water on your brush and see if it comes off. If it does, then you will need to add glazing medium, and if it doesn't, then you won't. So scientific I am.
I like how you look at me when you're explaining. Like I asked the question personally.
You were the one that asked, so.
That's true, I did.
Okay. I deserved that.
You were very focused too.
I was focused on you. You were looking so intently back at me. I was like, okay.
Are you not understanding this?
It might not make any sense here. Oh my gosh, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to make a gray with the black. That's why I put this black out. We're going to make this pink here. So I'm going to make a gray with the black and white. Mostly white, just a little bit of black. That's all we're going to need. And so it's kind of a light gray. And then I'm going to add my Quinacridone Magenta and a little bit of my Cadmium Red. About kind of equal parts, magenta and red. Okay, so there's my base color. It's going to be a little bit darker than our ash pink we're trying to match up here. So let's put a little bit of this ash pink out close by here so we can kind of see what it looks like. I may have too much black in this already. I may have to add a lot of white and a little bit more red. We'll see. I'm going to grab my white and get this little corner over here. Okay, we definitely need more of almost like a yellow, I think. But let me add a little bit more of the... because Cadmium Red Medium has more of the yellow undertones. It's more of an orangey red. Getting closer, and I think I still need a little bit. I might just add just a tiny, tiny bit of cadmium yellow. And I think I did add a little bit too much gray, or a little bit too much of the black, you know, yeah, the gray. I think maybe I would start with the red and white first. Try to get that mixture right. So red and white, and then just add a little bit of that gray to it. We're getting close here. So this is still a little bit too pink. So if it's too pink, then I can add a little bit of the gray and it'll tone it down. Okay, we're pretty close there. Pretty close. So just a tiny, tiny touch of yellow, and then that Quinacridone Magenta and Cadmium Red Medium, more of the red than the magenta, and then just add it to that. And I'm going to use this dark tone for our shadow. So we got some here. Put in my rose. And I'm going to use a little bit more of the magenta and red in here, too. A lot of fuss for this one rose, but
so
it's helpful, I think, to learn, you know, how to mix colors. So
I was just wondering if I called that flower George.
That flower, George?
Yeah, would it still be a rose?
Think so. Think so.
Okay, because somebody once said a rose by any other name is still a rose.
Okay.
So there you go. That's where my mind is right now.
Yeah. Okay. I have no comment to that.
Nothing.
I got nothing.
Nothing, huh? Oh, good.
I got nothing. So I'm making a little bit more of a peachy rose color. So I'm adding the yellow oxide to the cadmium, or to the magenta here. And then I'm going to add, I used a little bit of burnt Unbleached Titanium. This will be our small rose buds. They're a little bit more kind of a peachy rose tone. And I really need a darker version for my shadow areas. So I'm going to use a little bit of the burnt sienna with my magenta for that. Burnt sienna's got that kind of brownish tone. Oh, it's good. Good. Let's do the centers of them with this dark color. And then we'll use this lighter color on the outsides. And I'm just using this Filbert. This is the short Filbert number 4. I do like the shorter. Gives a little bit more control. I'm holding a little bit closer down than I was, the other ones, because this is a kind of a small little area here. I'm having to kind of work in. Get some of that darker color here. I'm just realizing this rose is right down in here. It's not this one's right there. Okay, this is berries right there. So I'll just make this one a little bit bigger. This one is a little bit smaller right here. Okay, there we go. And I definitely need it a lot darker in those centers. If you look at the centers of those roses, they're really, really dark. So I'm going to go back in here and get some really dark colors, see if I can get it to stick. It's not one to go on very dark, very thick right now. May have to come back later. This one's a little bit better. Got a little bit of the burnt umber there. Kind of helped it darken it up. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this color in here too. Okay. Get some of the white. I'm going to make a very light blush pink with this. Just getting into this rose color here. And our roses are going to be basically like little spirals. So we're just going to kind of start in the center and kind of start overlapping just a little bit over the top of these darker colors, and keep it very loose, kind of like that. Okay, you don't need too much detail. Get some of the darker color here, just kind of touch in between. There we go. Okay, so there's our first little rose. Let's try another one. Using the same color that we used for the centers, just lightening it up with some white here. And I'm going to start in the center and just going to do a small line and then do another line, kind of almost like a triangle at first. I'm going to zoom in, yeah. So the centers are kind of like these little bitty triangles, and you may need a smaller brush than this one's kind of big. But then I'm going to start kind of going over, and see how I had this one is out a little bit, so I'm going to tuck right up next to it and come out and go over the top of this V there, and then do the same thing on this V. I'm going to come around the side of it, and then anywhere I'm seeing an open spot, I'm going to start a petal there. So like right in here, or even outside the line of those two. And they're really kind of almost straight lines with roses. Some are going to have a little bit of a curve to them. And I'm loading the paintbrush up pretty thick so that I don't have to press down too hard because this brush is kind of thick. So there we go. There's your little rose there. Let's do another one. And just look at roses, look at the shapes you're seeing and try to, figure that out. So this one's pointing down this way. So our center of it's going to be like right in here, and the opening is going to be a little bit more open. Then I'm going to go right over the top of that and create our little petals. Like that. And I'm going into the wet paint, so it's kind of picking up the other colors, which is fine. So that's a little bitty one. This one's kind of tucked in and hiding a little bit down in here. Then let's do this one over here. So little straight line, curved line, and then in between, like that, coming in between, overlapping, where I'm seeing kind of an open area space, I'm gonna kind of try to put a petal in between. And this one is, can put it outside the border there a little bit. And then we got some berries and things here. So I'm gonna get, let's see what colors. Let's do a little bit of blue. I feel like I'd like to see a little bit of blue up here. So I'm gonna use a little bit of the, almost like they're little blueberries. The burnt umber, I'll just tone it down so they're not like in your face blue, bright blue. I use a little bit of both of those blues, a little bit of brown, a little bit of the burnt umber. Here we go. I see another one down here. Got a couple more down there. You could do whatever kind of flowers that you wanted, though. You could add any number of different kind of flowers there. It'd be really pretty. And then let's add our white. In fact, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush here. Get some white. Mix it with this blue. And just kind of shape these out a little bit. Keeping it pretty loose, though, not getting too fussy with it. Get fussy with it. Sounds like a song. Get fussy with it. Sorry. I'm in one of those moods tonight.
Me too.
All right.
I think Will Smith would be proud of you.
Huh?
Will Smith would be proud of you.
Okay, gonna get some of that ash pink. And I'm only doing that because this one's pretty much dried up. Getting some white here. This one's a little bit darker rose in general, so I can go a little bit darker with this color. I'm thinning out my paint a little bit because it's kind of thick there, and then I'm just running it to a point, so I've got a good little point on here on this little round brush. So that I can, there we go, get in here and make these petals. So I'm just going to kind of drag that brush around to create my petals in my rose there. Uh-oh, got some blue. What? Now it's really done.
Okay, that's 2 mistakes already.
That's okay. Actually, the blue looks good.
We're not even at... Oh, it's not a mistake. Okay. All right, I'll take that back. I'll put the points back on the board.
Okay. Thank you. That was a close one. That's a prerogative of an artist, though. You can just pretend like your mistakes are meant to be that there. So I meant to do that the whole time. Okay. I'm just noticing there's not a lot of dark in between right here. There's a shadow in our picture, so I'm going to get some of this darker shadow color. Try to tuck it up in here. Get the back end of this rose up in there. Then get some of that color and just go on over top. Okay, I find with roses, it's kind of the less is more. The more you fuss with it, the less it starts to look like a rose. So if you have some areas like this one right here where the colors have kind of bled together and there's not a whole lot of definition, then you can go back in and kind of carefully sort of add a little bit of darker color in between, but I wouldn't do that too much if you can help it, because it can tend to look overworked, and we want to keep these looking kind of loose and fresh, so less is more. Okay, looks good. And I'm going to get my blue. A little bit of this color, but I'm going to do a little bit brighter color on. There we go. I feel like they need a little bit brighter color. I'm going to go back to my Filbert here, and we'll start adding some leaves, but I think we need to do the hair first, because the leaves are going to be on top of the hair. So we'll just do, actually, let's do the leaves that are behind, where there's a few leaves up in here that are kind of behind everything, and the hair is going to go over the top. Let me think. Yeah, let's go ahead and do those. I think it'll be a little bit easier to get those in now. So I'm going to use the Cobalt Teal and the yellow, phthalo green yellow shade. Unbleached Titanium here. I need to spray my paint so it's trying to get sticky. And then wherever these ones that are kind of on the outer edges are going to be a little bit more yellow, where the sunlight's hitting them, shining through.
Okay, we got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody would like to know, what does the term loose mean?
Loose.
And I'm guessing she's referring to the painting.
Well, it's when you're letting your brush strokes overlap a little bit more sloppy-ish, not really sloppy, but, you know, a little bit more not precise. Your edges aren't going to be real firm. Your edges will be a little softer, and your brush strokes will be a little bit, you know, looser.
So it's kind of like when Angela draws a straight line without a ruler. That's a loose line. And when she measures out thirds with her fingers, that's a loose third.
Right. Okay, yes. What is your point?
I'm just kind of giving real world examples.
Examples of loose versus. Okay, using this color, and I've just added some of the white to it here, grabbing a little bit of white and just going to use it to kind of highlight some of these leaves that I've just painted. And I started the thing here too. If your background color is the same tone as your leaves, then you're going to have to either do one of two things. You're going to have to either go lighter or darker, and you can just decide what you want to do there. But I want a little bit of darkness, you know, a little bit of contrast, so I'm going to have to go a little bit darker with my values than I had originally planned on doing, maybe. And you can see I'm kind of going over these colors while they're wet. That kind of adds to that softer effect that I'm going for. And there's some out here. We can put them wherever you want. You don't have to do it exactly the way it is in the picture. Just kind of figure out where you want your leaves to go. I'm going to get a little bit of the darker, just darken it up, that green, by adding a little bit of the phthalo blue, so that I have some dark green in these shadow areas. Especially down in here, right around this rose. Just brushing it through that wet paint, so. Tinting it. Getting a little bit of brown, adding a little bit of brown even right in there. Really want it dark. That dark is what's going to add the dimension, depth to your painting. Don't be afraid of going really dark and really light. As long as you kind of blend them and make them make sense, you're going to be glad that you did it.
Okay, somebody would like to know, how do they mix the acrylic paints on the canvas? They seem to dry too fast.
On the canvas?
Yes.
Then you need more paint. If it's drying as soon as you touch it onto the canvas, then you just need more paint, more water in your paint before it goes to the canvas. Because the canvas will suck the moisture right out of your paints. So you definitely need to have enough moisture. If you're seeing that, it's doing that, then you need to add more water to them before you touch it to the canvas. Here on the on the palette, make sure your paints are a little bit softer and a little bit more wet.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm doing a few leaves kind of behind, underneath, and around this, and we'll be adding more later, but this will be kind of our starting point. We'll be adding a lot of leaves here in a minute. Actually, I do want to add one right in here. Get that darker color. There's a leaf right here that's coming out between these two roses, so I'm going to see if I can fit it in there. It's a little bit bigger than I had intended for it to be. Okay. I'm trying to decide if I want to try to wipe that off. Oh, let me try it. Hopefully this paint there was dry enough. Now, took a little bit of it off. There we go. Get some background color here. Okay. Use this anywhere I see I need it, but I think that's good. Get a little bit of that highlight color and just go over that leaf right there where I want it to show up. And then right here, I want to bring this petal out a little bit over the top of it just to kind of hide that edge. So I'm just going to grab some of the pink from before. Adding a little bit of this unbleached titanium because that pink there was a little bit more of the rosy, or the little bit more of the yellowish color. I'm just going to do a little bit over the top right there to kind of hide where that petal starts. And then just use this color. This is kind of a little bit of a highlight color, and what's going to do, that paint underneath, when we first put on it, the layer, it was super wet, and so it was blending with that pink underneath, and so this will show up a little bit brighter. So this is just going to be our kind of last do not overdo this. Just a little bit goes a long way here. I'm just going to kind of highlight some of these petals, these roses that are kind of over the top here, using this really bright highlight pink. And I'm just finding the places where I've already put petals, you know, put this color and kind of just going back over them a little bit. So I'm not adding new petals really, just there we go. Okay. Thanks. How are we doing on time? Okay. Adding little highlights to my leaves there. So let's start on our girl here. And I noticed that this is drying a little bit darker than I intended for it to. So I'm going to get a little bit of white and just add it to that color. Just kind of go over the edges of it and blend it in a little bit. If you add other brush strokes in, it'll make it look like you meant to do that, you know. So just add it in a couple places and that is just wanting to. Okay. Let's go and use this brush. And I think the hair is going to be mainly this Unbleached Titanium. I'm seeing a little bit of pink in it. A little bit of pink, white. And we can add a little yellow oxide if we need to. Let's see how this goes, because it's gonna be toned by the undercolors that we've got under here too, so that brown's gonna affect it a little bit.
It looks okay so far.
So far so good. Okay.
Still okay.
Shut up. Can I
It's drying.
mix a little bit of a medium yellow or yellowish blonde here? And if I want to go a little bit more ashy, I can add a little bit of blue to it to tone it down. Burnt umber, a little bit of yellow oxide here. I added a little bit of that blue that was right there too. There we go. So we need kind of like a medium value for some of the sort of lighter shadow areas. So it's not all the highlights all over. And we're definitely going to be adding some other colors in here. So I do want to grab some pink every now and then and throw in some, like a little bit of pink in there. If you looked at our other girls, we added touches of pink in their hair here and there, and a little bit of blues, even purples. So we want to do the same with her. The blues and purples go kind of in the shadows, and the pinks and lighter colors will go in the highlight areas. This part is kind of coming straight forward. So I want to leave this part area a little bit darker, maybe. Get that color, and I do want to make sure that I'm going over the top of my leaves that are right here. So just make sure that you're there and there, going over the top of those. And then get some of the darker burnt umber here. Smush that out so I don't have so much on my brush there. And I'm going to use it also. Okay, that's good. Then right here, I'm going to start to come straight down. I'm starting with the burnt umber, and we'll just gradually lighten it up and kind of add streaks of the lighter color. Go right up to it, but not quite over the top of the where it starts right there. And then let's get some of this lighter color. The lighter color kind of goes right up there. I'm setting it down and just kind of flicking my brush down so that I'm getting kind of these broken lines.
Okay, somebody's got a question.
There we go. Yep.
And they are asking, what are your suggestions for a person to be less of a self-critic while they're painting and just enjoy the process?
That's tough. I mean, I think part of it is just kind of trusting the process and realizing that, you know, you're while you're learning. Part of it is knowing that that your painting's going to look worse before it looks better, because that's kind of part of painting with acrylics in general. So if you kind of know that going into it, that it's not going to look great in the first few steps. Like if you look at this right here, if you were to look at yours, and you probably, if you didn't trust that process, you might look at it and think you were doing something wrong when you got to this stage and you saw it looking so messy. So you kind of have to just like take a step back every now and then and just go, okay, we're on track. Like we're, because your brain will fight you every step of the way with art. It will tell you that does not look like a woman, that you're going to be fighting these kind of internal messages that your brain's going to be sending you. So you kind of just have to learn to overcome that and ignore those that little chatter in your brain, you know, that happens. And that's totally normal. And kind of think, if you know that that's and expect it, and just realize when it happens that, you know, that it's not valid and that you don't have to listen to it, then it kind of takes the power away from those thoughts, you know, and you're a little bit, you'll trust yourself a little bit more while you're painting, I think. And if it does, you know, if it does get to the very end and you still don't like it, well, then you just need to kind of chalk it up to an experience. It's one step towards your goal of getting to be a better painter, and you're not going to get there in the first step. You will not learn any new skill and start out being 100% great at it. That never happens with anything you try to learn. So if you kind of know that going in, you know, this may be a messy process. I may not do as good as I really hope that I will on the first, you know, 2, 3 paintings, 4 paintings, 10 paintings. Just kind of give yourself permission to be bad at it for a little while until you get better at it. And the more you paint, the better you'll get. But if you kind of give up before you give yourself a chance, then you'll never get better at it, you know. So, yeah, that would be I'm adding blue here if you didn't notice. I just, that burnt umber and added the burnt ultramarine blue here in my shadow areas, like I said I was going to do. So this kind of adds that little ashy color to our blonde hair. It's really pretty, and it's a really nice smoky blue. It's also the same blue that we used over here. So again, using it in multiple places will help kind of unify the whole painting. And you won't notice that you've got blue in the hair, I promise you. If you do it just a little, in little bits, you know, don't overdo it. But if you do it in little bits here and there, it's going to kind of just add something to your painting a little bit extra. Oh, my goodness. What did I do over here? Wow.
Nothing wrong with blue hair, though.
I got this paint all over.
I see that.
How did I do that? It's on my sleeve.
I don't know.
Oh, it's on my sleeve. Look at that.
Oh, jeez.
Great.
Painting is a full contact sport.
This was a
Just
new shirt, too.
Just get in there and get messy.
You know, it'll get that out if I put some alcohol on it, some rubbing alcohol on it. I probably shouldn't have smushed it into my thing. That wasn't a good idea. I should have just left it, because if you'll get some rubbing alcohol in it right away, it should come out. Okay, so I'm gonna have to cover that up. Oh, great.
Okay, so what brush are you using?
I'm using the number 4 Filbert.
Okay, the Aspen number 4. And
Right. And
Cynthia
this area
was right.
here, I want to leave dark because there are leaves and things over it. So I'm trying not to cover it with too much of the lighter color paint, but we do need some of the brush strokes kind of leading down into it. So this paint right here, this is the motion here that we're wanting. We're wanting it to start up here and come all the way down into here. And then these ones are all going to be leading like this around the outside there. That's the motion in the ocean that we want to get here. Okay, so we can go back, once we kind of get these undercolors on there, we can go back over with the really bright color and just really add that, re-emphasize that swoop there. And then let's do the same thing on the outside there. Kind of add the little swooping hairs. And then we don't have the add more color here. I'm going to scrape off this blue that's taking over the entire bottom corner of my palette, so I've got some room to mix some new colors. Really, all of this is pretty much dry
now,
at this point.
would it be a good suggestion with people who are tackling paintings? Like here, you did a bunch of roses. So would you recommend that they would like go and practice doing roses on a piece of paper somewhere else and just do, 10, 20, 40 of them? And
Absolutely. That'll help a lot. Yeah.
so instead of trying to tackle all types of different painting techniques in one painting, just focus on one on a practice.
Right.
And then you just put them all together, just like baking a cake.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I have a small quick tips video that's like 5 minutes long that shows you how to do roses. If you just do quick tips roses, Angela Anderson, in your YouTube search, it'll come up. Or just Angela Anderson roses and you'll see it. It's just a real short little video, and it's got like a little, I don't know, maybe multiple, I can't remember what the thumbnail looks like, but it should pop up in your search. And that'll help you with these kind of little roses here. They're not as realistic as these, so these ones have a little bit more realism to them, but they're similar, so be close enough. So, all right, yeah, I'm liking the colors. I think it's working so far, so good. So, and I'm also kind of working from the top to the bottom here, so kind of trying to figure out where the overlapping is happening. So like down here, these ones on top are overlapping these ones along these bottoms and sides, so I need to do these first, and then we'll do the ones that are on the very top at the end. So let's work on these ones that are kind of around the sides here. Get some of this lighter medium color here, and I probably could have done this after I did done the little berries. It's kind of hard. You really can't. There's no perfect time to do the berries when you've got this much overlapping. So you may have to repaint in some of the berries a little bit. We'll see. We'll try not to go over them, but we might go over them a little bit. Shut up. Mark Anderson.
You better leave those berries alone. Don't cover them up.
Sounds like a song. Leave those girls alone. Leave those kids alone, right? That's a Pink Floyd.
Let's leave those kids.
Not the kids alone, not those girls. Not those. Okay.
But I'm sure there were girls in that kids
Probably.
reference, yes.
Okay, my brush is getting way too thick. You see all these little super thick lines that are happening here. That just means I need to clean it out. Wipe it clean, because I want to keep basically the same size brush strokes as much as I can. So I'm just gonna have to go back in here with my darker color and kind of go back over some of these little areas here and kind of thin out those brush strokes, just a little bit. And I want to add a little bit of the burnt sienna. Burnt sienna's got a little bit more of a reddish tint to it, so it'll be a really pretty kind of undertone for some of our shadow areas too. Maybe our highlights that are hitting the sun. I've got some shadows that are, you know, even though this hair is in the sun, maybe some of these areas are in the sunlight are getting having a little shadow moment. Some of that might have a little bit of reddish coming out. Who knows? Okay, so now the main thing when I'm going to be adding these curls on top is to leave just a little bit of that dark showing. I don't want to cover all that up, otherwise I'm just going to have light, light, light everywhere. So I want to leave just a little bit. So doing really short little brush strokes here so that I can get close to that dark area there. And then right in that dark area, so I've put those light colors in there, I'm going to come back in with over the top with kind of a medium brown maybe. That'll help transition those dark areas and the light areas. And I can always go back in with my dark too and go over the top a little bit with the dark as well. This area right here is going to have a lot of leaves and things, so I don't have to be perfect about it, but this got a little kind of curly Q happening right here, so I'm going to get some of this and try to get a little curl there. Cute. And then this hair is coming up and going over. Right there. Got a little dark area right there. It's coming up and meeting this one. And again, if I get it too much light, I can get my darker color, my burnt umber. And just come up over and add some of that over the top. And especially if we do it while it's kind of still wet, it'll kind of blend in a little bit, make it a little bit smoother looking. Let's do white here. And trying to push my brush. If I push my brush flat, I'll get a thinner line on it so that I can get some of these better looking brush strokes there, a little bit thinner and smaller. Now let's get some of the kind of medium color to go over the neck here. So maybe even some of the darker color. There we go. Just need to have some contrast, that's all, so you can see it. If it's too light or too dark, you won't be able to, if it's too much the same value, then you won't be able to see it. And by value, I just mean dark and light. So if what you're trying to cover is the same tone, same amount of darkness, then it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to see it. So just make sure that, like when you do this area down here, that you've got enough dark in your paint color to cover. Okay, and then I'm going to do some of these outer edges here. Make sure I've got some good outer borders. Okay, let's switch to a smaller brush and let's do some little wispies along the outside.
Some little wispies.
Yes, so just kind of getting a smaller brush here and doing little wispy hairs that are kind of not staying in. They're misbehaving, coming outside they're rebels. So let's get some of the pink, and I want to add some of the pink because I'm kind of missing that pink color, maybe even a little bit extra. Let's add a little bit of that in a couple of places. go for areas that you think that might be getting a little sunlight. Okay, it's pretty. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this real quick here. Gotta get our background covered. Closer. Okay, so I added a new color here. It's probably not the exact color. So what I'm going to do is just add it in a couple other places and just dab it in here and there. Just so that it looks like I meant to do that. You know, honestly, that's pretty much the only way to get it to kind of blend in. But the nice thing is we did our background all kind of blendy and lots of brush strokes and things, so we can get away with.
So are you going to put paint on different parts of your shirt to make it look like you meant to do that?
I should. If I can't get this paint out, I might.
think you should, yeah.
I might. It's a good idea.
And then convert it to a mask?
Yeah. I was excited. I found all my sample fabrics from my fabrics when I have fabrics. I kind of did it for a while, and then I haven't made a new fabric in years, but I still have them up on Spoonflower. And so if you're looking for butterfly fabrics, and yeah, they're mostly butterfly fabrics.
Yes.
Some nests, yeah, some not as a lot. So they're kind of random. Paisley, I don't know. I did some. I'm not going to go into that, but anyhow, so I found my sample fabrics from that. So that was long detailed thing just to say I found fabric. The end.
How to make a long story longer?
Most exciting story you've heard all day.
A short story long?
Fabric.
And she gets onto the kids for making stories long.
I did. Spencer, especially when he was little, we'd have to go short version, because he'd be like going. And then we went to lunch, and then and you're like, give me the short version, Spencer.
And I'm like, where did he get that from?
Oh, that was a burn. Ouch, that hurt. That hurt.
So you found fabric, did you say?
Man, I'm not going to tell you any more of my stories. You just turn off your mic. You don't get to listen anymore. All right, so going through here, I'm going to put in my center line for my flowers.
Okay, somebody would like to know, could they use just the regular series of Princeton brushes for this painting?
Absolutely. Yes, you can.
No points lost.
No. Yep, they all work just fine. You might just have to load them up a little thicker than normal, to get the same effect. But yes, you can use them. They're just a little bit softer than this. So these thicker brushes just make it a little easier to push the paint around. That's the main reason why I'm using it, because we're going thicker with the paint. So it just makes these stiffer brushes, I meant not thicker brushes, the stiffer brushes, they make it a little easier to push that paint around. Okay, so I'm gonna put a leaf right here. I'm gonna start drawing in these leaves. And you could really use any brush you want to in that right size range. I'm gonna start with this one. I may switch to a smaller brush, or a different brush, not smaller. We'll see. Okay, so I've mixed up my green and blue here and added, I don't know what I added. I think I added a little bit of the burnt sienna. I was talking about fabric when I did that. Sorry. This is giving my fabulous fabric story. So these leaves are kind of blunted on the tip a little bit. Looks like eucalyptus, I think.
Ooh.
Pretty, pretty.
That's what it is. I can figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, somebody's got a question.
Okay.
They wanted to know, how did you decide to become a painter?
I always really liked art in school and really all the time. I just really liked it. I had a really good art teacher in high school, and she really kind of encouraged me to pursue it. She was one of the first art teachers that, like, I've had art teachers before, but they never really were like, yeah, you're good at this, you should do this. And so she was the first one that kind of really was like, yeah, I think you should pursue this more. And I took her classes for 2 years. And then when I graduated, I just went straight into college with, as art as my major. And I didn't really like art all that much, because it was a lot of theory and not a lot of actual practical, learning. They don't really teach you, at least at my college. They probably other places do, but it wasn't like an art college, so it was a community college. So the professor that was over the art department was a potter, and he did pottery, and he knew how to do that, but he didn't really paint a whole lot. So I didn't get a lot of practical painting techniques that what I wanted, And so it was kind of a frustrating few years. And so anyhow, yeah, long story, but I always kind of pretty much just liked art, and then after college, I had periods of, no art, and then, lots of art, and no art, and lots of, so I always was painting, but it was more, and then once I had my children and I was home all the time, I had to do art to keep sane, pretty much. It was pretty much at home with 2 toddlers and 2 toddler boys, and at night, and whenever they napped, I painted as much as I could, and it really did. There's something to be said for art therapy. I wholly believe it. So, and now my kiddos are all grown, except for Spencer, who's still at home, but he's 18 now, so he's technically an adult, which is scary. I can't believe it. He's the sweetest guy, though. He never gives us a lick of trouble. He's our last one. All the other 2 have flown the coop, so he's our last one at home with us, and he's great kid. Brought me some sweet tea tonight, all the way into the studio before I started my show, just because. All right, I only said that because I was saying mean things about my kids. I wanted you. They really are good boys.
Yes, they are.
They were really good kids.
Okay, so I'll let you explain a little bit about the paint colors you're using right now.
Okay.
And then I got another question.
I'm really kind of just doing a number of different ones. I don't have any rhyme or reason really. I'm just looking at my photograph and looking at where I'm seeing these lighter colors in, and trying to get some of these lighter colors where I'm seeing them pop up on the image here. So.
Okay, somebody would like to know, is there a safe way to cut down the handle of your brushes so that the finish doesn't crack and allow the moisture to...
I think as long as you were to seal it up, it'd be okay. You know, like just here, to get a darker color. Just gonna keep. I think as long as you sealed up that bottom edge, you know, real good with some duct tape or something, so moisture couldn't get in there, it'd be fine. The back end of your brush is not going to get a lot of moisture anyways. You're not going to be dunking it in the water much. So, I mean, except for when you're maybe cleaning it, you know, it may be getting wet then, but as long as you're careful with it and just tape it off or even paint it and varnish it, because that's all this is, you know. There's only going to be a little tiny bit. I don't know about the cracking part. I would just say use a really, really sharp blade when you do it, and it shouldn't crack. You know, I don't think. I think that would be the main. And also you can tape it before you cut it. I've seen people do that. And taping it before you cut it will protect the finish from chipping. So you can try that. All right, so I made a really dark green here because there's a lot of areas in here that have a lot of darker color here that I'm not getting quite yet. So I need to, yeah, there we go. Get in here with some of that. There we go. It's all about contrast. If you do not have contrast, you cannot have depth. It's just not going to happen. So let's do one right here. And these are all just kind of blues and greens. I don't have any kind of particular ones that I'm choosing over others. I'm just kind of looking and seeing. This one looks like it's got a little bit of light hitting it, so I'm going to go back over this dark that I just put down and kind of add some lighter color over the top. Add some lighter color while it's drying. It'll kind of help and then every now and then I'm going to put in one that's got a little bit more yellow, maybe, you know, a little bit more of a yellow tone in it, because I'm seeing both. Get this darker green here. Are we getting close to showtime here? We need to get going, huh? Half hour, okay. We'll be done. Plenty of time.
But no time limit.
No time limit? Okay. Thanks, son.
And if you're not comfortable in drawing, we got traceables at patreon.com/AngelaFineArt.
We do.
Like the one for this one will be up later tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Depends on how exciting Oak Island is tonight.
I'll probably do it tonight. It's not going to take me very long.
And
I usually use the reference photo the painting, the finished painting, and I'll do my traceable from that. I just trace it digitally and then post it on Patreon for my patrons. It's a $2 a month for unlimited downloads of all my traceables, so it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, 3 years worth.
Right, there's quite a few on there.
And that's at the $2 level, like you said, and then there's a $5 level where you get all that plus an additional bonus video.
Yes.
That's done. And then $10 level, which is all that plus access to a Facebook group where more painting is done.
Yes. Yes, we do a weekly painting just with them. They get their own private live stream once a week. Most weeks. This week we're not because I'm doing my bonus video this weekend.
Oh,
So
okay.
bonus video week we don't do a live stream, but every other week we usually do. Unless I'm sick or something, you know, something's happened. But most weeks we do one. have somebody sign up and be like, hey, I thought she was doing that this week. And like, oh, sorry.
And then Bill and Warren, Elon, you can give whatever you want. You can do the $1 million, $10 million level, whatever.
So Mark can retire tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
He never has to go back to.
Yep. So I know you're watching. Belinda, tell him to do it.
Oh gosh, Marky, you're crazy. Okay, so just adding kind of an olive color here. Added some yellow and added to this color that had the brown, green, and blue in it. So this color was the phthalo blue and phthalo green mixture, kind of equal parts, and then with the burnt umber, which I'm getting all over my towel, and then this color was just white plus a little bit of the yellow oxide added. So that makes it a little bit more of an olive toned color. And I'm just kind of going back through here, and you can see I'm just kind of trying to give it kind of a painterly look, so just kind of brushing the highlight in lightly so that it kind of skims. I'm going to get some of the yellow, go over my stem a little bit with the yellow. The stem's got a little bit of yellow, so now that I've got my leaves in here, I'm going to kind of do one more like pass with the stem. And then I can go back in here with some white. And this is where I was thinking I could use my smaller brush. Let's use this little baby one because we need to use him. And I'm going to do some center lines for some of these. Got some water there. There's it. Didn't want some drips on there. So can highlight the edges. This is going to be a really fun brush to have to get these little finer details. I'm using kind of a lighter green here, just a color that will show up. And then wherever I want the sunlight to be kind of hitting, I'm going to go in with a really bright highlight. So those will kind of pop those forward. So anywhere where I put this color, it's going to like pull that leaf forward and into the light. So maybe this leaf is getting a little bit of it. Maybe this leaf has some along the edge here. And I'm seeing a little bit of yellow too, so you can add a little bit of yellow maybe to your white for some of these. Do a little bit of a brighter yellow. The yellow will make it even look more sunny, more lit up. Okay, and then we can use this in our rose if we need to. I don't think I'm going to mess with mine. I think I'm pretty happy with it. But if you need to clean up your like blue at all, you can get a little bit of that blue, a little bit of the brown. This is Ultramarine Blue. Some of the brown there, burnt umber. And just use it to shadow these a little bit. Give them a little darker tone. Set them in a little bit better. And then if you want to get real fancy, they have a little X over them. So you can do that. Not sure what those are, but kind of neat looking. So
Try it in a little bit, just see the detail.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, then they're blueberries. I would think she put blueberries in her hair.
Oh, yeah, she sure did. It's cool. I like it. All right, and then for the final whatever, we can get some of that white and unbleached titanium if I can get some white that doesn't have green in it. A little bit more white here. For just our final layer, all of the hair now is dry, so we're not going to have to worry about it, you know, mixing in at all. And I've got just a little bit of this unbleached titanium, so this is mostly white because this blonde hair is pretty platinum. She's pretty platinum blonde. It's pretty white. So I'm going to mix that all up good with this. Get a little bit of the glazing medium if I need to, but thinner is better with this. And then I'm just going to use this brush and just very lightly go in my brightest areas here. Just add some. And I'm loading this up pretty thick because it's not one to do very much. It's a smaller brush, so it's not holding as much paint. And just hit the brightest highlights of my hair here. So just where I'm seeing kind of the brightest areas, and very lightly, just trying to kind of wisp it on here. If you keep it light, you kind of get those. I'm barely dragging it, only kind of touching it down where I want it the brightest. Mark had a hard time with this technique. What? Do I keep moving it out of your frame? What are you doing?
I can't just chase you. You go from the top to the bottom, back to the top to the bottom.
Well, yeah, I'm doing the whole hair.
Well, I
All
know.
of the hair.
So I was trying to show a good side angle, but I can't follow you that fast.
Okay. I'm just hitting it kind of all over here, and then just do some of these ones that are kind of out wispy too. All right, I think we're pretty good here. Let me get a little bit of this ash pink here with my white. Do just a little bit more on my big rose. Mainly where the light's hitting it, kind of on this bottom area here. There we go. Getting some of the inside darker color here with the reds, both reds, and a little bit of the burnt sienna. A little bit of the ultramarine blue. I think it might have been a burnt umber with the ultramarine blue. And the red. There we go. Kind of a dark purpley color. And then I'm going to mix these two together. So I have a medium version. I'm just going to do a little bit of the medium version in here. Again, don't want to do too much because I don't want it to get too fussy, but get too fussy, but all right, let's use this pink, this brighter pink in the hair too. I'm going to use it in the medium color areas, so that using that medium pink, I'm going to use it in the medium dark areas in my hair, just in a couple little places. It's going to just add a little touch of fun color to our hair. Don't do too much because you don't want it to look pink, but all right. Oh, I didn't give her any clothes on there, but I think it's all right. It looks.
People at the end look, I was doing a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's all right.
It's okay.
I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit.
Like this is not green.
Yeah, it was green right there, so I'm just gonna clean it up. Right there. All right, so we're done. I think. Let me sign it. Sign it along her shoulder. Somebody was mentioning. Well, go ahead. You can talk and I'll.
A super chat?
Yeah, go
Okay. We'll give a shout out to Laura, our super chatter tonight. She said, as always, thank you, Angela and Mark. When things get tough or not, we can always count on you to lift our spirits. Much
Oh.
love to both of you and your family.
Oh wow! Thank you, Laura. That
Thank you, Laura.
That
That's
makes me
awesome.
cry. That's so sweet. Thank you.
And also a shout out to, I don't remember the name, that did the PayPal donation on Saturday.
Laura or
Lorinda?
Lori.
Lori?
I think. Let me make sure. Yes, I think it was. Okay, just give me a second.
I'll give you 2 seconds. Okay, maybe 8 seconds.
Yeah, Lori Whitney.
Thank you to Lori.
I was just, for some reason, the first name was escaping me. I knew it was Whitney, but yes, she's the one that gave me my palette too. So she was trying to buy my water bucket for me, and we were having a discussion about it, and I told her no, it's okay. I already ordered one, and then she sent me that money last week. So she was determined to. Sweet, so sweet. So thank you, Lori. I'm enjoying my water bucket. Paid indirectly through you. All right. Yeah. Yay. I love her. She's so cute. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can get all three. If I can get this other one. Okay. Sorry. There we go. I'm even matching. Oh, she's matching this girl a lot.
Oh, yeah.
She matches her almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. And then here's our third girl. I don't know. I can't get them all three in there.
Push
So,
the camera
there.
away from you. Push it.
That way?
Yeah. And then zoom
Okay,
in.
there we go. There we go.
This is far as I can
That's
see.
about, okay. That looks good. I like this series.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Hope you're enjoying it too. And like I said, we're going to be doing some more next month. I got a redhead girl with some like yellow and white in her hair. So it'll be a good little contrast. And yeah, it'll be. And then if I can find some ethnicities with, because I'd like to do other skin tones and hair colors, but I'm having a really hard time finding the right images. So if you find some, you can send them to me on my email. Got links down in the description. I just have to have the permission from the photographer, obviously. So you can't just steal them off the internet. I won't be able to use them. So.
And if there's any guys out there that want to shove flowers in their hair and take pictures and send them to us, go ahead.
Except man buns.
Man bun. We can have some fun with this.
It would be so funny.
Just saying.
I would love that. We need to do at least one man bun, I think, before this is all over. He can just have leaves in his hair, maybe. I don't know. Okay, guys. Thanks so much for watching with us today. Hope you have a great week. Stay safe out there, and we will give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that good stuff if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Love to see those, and
We'll be back Saturday.
we'll be back Saturday. We're going to be doing a sailboat, seascape. Should be a really easy, simple one. I'm going to simplify it quite a bit, and I may even use a palette knife. I don't think I'm going to, though. I have another palette knife sailboat, though. I think I'm going to do it a little bit more kind of silhouette style, though. I think it'll be a pretty easy one. And then on Sunday, we're going to have our bonus video. So if you're part of my $5 Patreon group or higher, you'll get access to that $5, that extra bonus video on Sunday. And we're going to be painting an Italian street scene with cobblestone alley with hanging plants
Pizza
and stuff
and
off.
spaghetti.
No, it's going to have like doorways and windows and
Not a very good
Greenery and-
Italian. Then
flowers and stuff hanging.
it should be food.
All right. I think he's hungry. We're going to go eat. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.